Hey everyone, I'm Jason Truding. This is a Brooklyn podcast, Brooklyn Bound podcast hang, and I'm very excited to be talking to, I'm moderately excited to be talking to Adam Gilbert Slowinski, and I am extremely excited to be talking to Cristina Altamura. Thanks for being here, Cristina.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Yay. Adam, I'm just joking. I'm always excited to talk to you. And this may be a little bit, we could talk about some different things than we usually do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to do a disclaimer that I brought a fan along so that when I smile, you won't see all the I just got braces.
Oh, killer.
Yeah.
I can't even see, but I
I'm
love
getting
the
used to
fan.
them, so I don't know how to smile with them. So
I
it feels
love it.
awkward.
But it's COVID times, so we rarely see faces right now.
I think that was part of the strategy. It's like,
Yeah.
we're still all going to be in masks for a year. This is perfect timing.
Yeah. We have a game in our house, which is, guess what is behind my mask. You can guess smile, frown, or tongue out.
Tongue out. Ah.
Good job, Cristina.
Good
You
job.
win. Okay, enough shenanigans. We're talking to Adam and Cristina because they are doing a duo piece, which I'm so grateful for because I wrote this duo. They're doing a duo on the Brooklyn Bound show, April 15th, 7 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube. But this is just a great chance to talk to Cristina and also to talk to both of them about their work together. So Cristina, I said we kind of asked the same questions of everybody, and the first one is just the biggest and broadest. And I know some of this, but I don't know that I know a lot of it. Like, what was your kind of into the piano? Like little Cristina, when did you discover the piano? When did you discover music? What was your path to now?
Well, my mother was an opera singer, so there was always music in my house. But she also opened an inner city. She was one of the first people to open an arts academy in an inner city community. And it was really special because that's where I spent every single day after school. So there were ballet lessons going on, and she hired a lot of immigrants from Russia in the 70s to teach there. And then there were a lot of immigrants from Cuba who wanted their children. They were, in Cuba, they had a lot of arts, and they were well educated, and it was just a whole group of people that came and wanted their kids to continue. So this school flourished, and it was an oasis in that city. And so
It's in Weehawken. It's in Hoboken.
it's in
Weehawken?
Union City.
Union City, of course.
Union City was called Little Cuba
Mm.
at one time because it was, there was a period that it was a large percentage of the demographic was Cuban.
Mm.
It was fun. It was really fun for me because I learned Spanish before I even learned Italian because I'm of Italian descent. So it was so colorful. It was fun to hear music on the streets all the time, and I don't know, it was just really lively.
And so from
Great
young
community.
age, you were playing piano.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
through.
so I was taking piano lessons, ballet lessons, just hanging out with all these kids. Doing
Awesome. And
creative
then
things together.
all the way through high school, what was your path? I know part of the story, but I don't know all of it. I know you ended up studying piano in Italy at some moment.
Yeah.
With some other friends that I know,
Yeah.
or other pianists that you talk about this kind of crew. What led you from Union City and ballet and piano? What led you there?
I went to Manus. I actually studied at the Joffrey Ballet in the village for some time. I didn't think I was going to go into the piano. I hated sitting, I loved dancing. But then I was introduced to this Russian piano teacher, and she was really interesting. And I don't know, I just fell in love with playing the piano at that point. I was 12 or 13. So it was all piano. And then I went to Manus College of Music. And from there, I decided I really wanted to go to Italy and see. My mother had studied at the Verdi Conservatory in Milan, and I always heard all these stories about, you know, the wonderful pianists that came out of Italy, like Pollini and Michelangeli. And I just thought I had to go there and be in that scene.
Yeah.
So I picked up and left and, you know, started auditioning there for people, and finally made my way through all these auditions. I found my teacher, you know, and it was very exciting for me because he really helped me get to where I needed to be.
And who's this? Because I know you and Adam are doing a project about this, about your mentor.
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Franco Scala. He was the founder of the Imola Academy. Imola was known for Formula One racing, right?
Oh,
But
right.
now it's known for this piano academy, and it's near Bologna. And there's this it's a deep story that resonates with me, and especially for these times. And so Adam and I visited the academy together, and we decided to start writing down the history of how the academy came to be, because it was a reaction to the conservatory system, and we love alternative education. And so it was fascinating for both of us as teachers. So but the book is turning into a podcast, so
nice.
So
it's a good medium. It's a good medium.
Everybody's got to have a podcast.
Everybody's got to have a podcast.
You know? Well, actually, one of the reasons that started to happen is that it's the best way to convey what is so interesting about the whole crew of pianists that study with this teacher is to listen to them play the piano. And that's just, a book doesn't quite do that. And I think we realized as we started making an audio podcast, we were like, oh, we can also like intersperse the storytelling with just like, listen to these folks, like these unbelievable pianists came out of this situation. And it paints the picture really, really well. And it is also, it's a whole other craft. And I mean, she and I, Cristina, we've spent months just trying to hone one initial episode. And we've already gone like completely back to the drawing board after having this whole 45-minute thing. We don't think that all the episodes are going to be like that, but just to make the first one and figure out, wow, like it's not as easy as it looks to do compelling documentary storytelling in an audio format. And
I'm joking around because this podcast, I mean, it's not like Josh's like really long free flowing conversations, but it's a conversation. The podcast I think you're talking about is more in the like, you know, I'm not sure if it's as like Radio Lab cut up, but more of like a telling a story kind of podcast.
Yeah, it's not going to be that professional, but that is where we sort of ended up heading. And once you open that can of worms, there's a lot to consider.
Yeah.
You know,
so when did you all go over to Imola?
Well, we actually went there the first time before we got married, and kind of decided on that trip to get married.
Nice. So it's a special place too. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We went sort of, it was our first time going to Italy together, and we
gave a concert together.
We gave a concert together. And we were like, let's go to Italy together. And we came back engaged, as one might do if you go to Italy and Florence and Bologna and all those places. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to hear about that concert, and that maybe could lead us to some other things. But when just about this project you guys are doing, it started with the long conversations with your teacher. Is that a lot of it is these audio conversations? Back
in 2015, I was invited to give a concert for the Red Cross by a friend of mine who had graduated from the academy. And while I was there, I hadn't seen my teacher in so many years. And I just decided to take the train to Imola and visit. And I was so nervous because, I don't know, sometimes you lose touch with people and you're like, why did I lose touch with that person? So immediately his wife invited me over. She cooked a meal and she was like, get over here now. And during that time I asked him, like, you know, the way you teach is so unique. It has incredible results. And I haven't ever I've been with so many teachers. I have never seen that kind of teaching. And I said, have you started to write things down? And he said, no, but you know, people have interviewed him, journalists, but I was like, well, we need to start doing this. And so he was like, come whenever you want. And we just started to record our conversations. So I have like 30 hours of conversations with him, with his colleagues, with his former students. And I don't know, it's just, I'm so excited. I have all this material. And then Adam started learning audio editing,
Mhm.
and we decided to, it's just a treasure, right? So I have to do this. And
That's awesome.
when you feel compelled by something, like you can't stop thinking
Yeah.
about it, then it's something you have to do.
That's amazing. Well, I'm psyched to know more about that. So this was 2015, you said?
Yeah,
The
so
first time?
I've been working on this project for a while.
That's awesome. And so you played a duo show in Italy then?
No, that was in 2012.
Got it. Oh wow. Okay.
That was the first time we went to Italy together.
Oh right.
And yeah, we did a duo show, which was, like we each played some solos. We actually got marimba shipped over there, and it was very funny because it was in this little town, which, as so many little towns in Italy, where like the theater was like in the old part of the town, which is like up a hill that's like, so getting this marimba in this van up this hill and into this theater. And like, but then we put a few things together. We didn't have a lot of time. We put a few things together where basically we did some like transcriptions, write some Gershwin, Cristina, where I like took out one of the parts, played it on marimba and stuff like that. We did some tango stuff, some piazzolla stuff, right?
Was this the first time you guys played together?
Yes.
Did you question your life choices, or did it feel okay? Like, that's a heavy thing. Well, no, like in some ways that's a heavy thing, right? Like me and Beth have gone off and on from doing more or less playing together, but it's a really special thing to play with your partner, I think. But also, like, it's there's a lot of dynamics there, right? So I imagine this went well, is why I asked.
It was interesting. I mean, I was a little
you are always going to get the truth here.
Look, I was a little intimidated, but then when we started working together, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm playing. I better count better." I mean,
love that.
I'm doing too much bravado. He's gonna, and then I don't know. It was just hard to catch him because he was performing so much with percussion. Like I was like, how do I grab this guy? No, it was challenging. I love playing with him. We recently played at the Americas Society because I was presenting like a composer portrait of Guido Lopez Gavilan. That was so exciting, and we brought David Degg on and some other artists, and it was very exciting. And I love performing with Adam. I feel like I have a rock solid like anchor, and like everything is gonna go well. So for me, it's always a real treat to play with him.
Christina, you really saved that
to get him, to pull him away from you guys.
Well, we used to play shows, but I just love
now.
You started that answer with, it was interesting, and you got to a really beautiful place with it. Well, yeah, because it's true. I imagine you all playing duo, because I remember some of these projects, and I remember you going to Italy. I remember that, and I remember the Americas Society, or is that what it's called? That was a really cool show, and I remember Adam talking about it a lot. And Gavilan's son was there, right? I remember
two of his sons, who, like, there's a big documentary about them now because of Cuba and everything, all the political climate, and in the last years has been just wild. But yeah, no, there were a lot of overtones, like there were political overtones, but also like this exciting, just like presenting this master from Cuba that, he has been presented in the United States, but it was very exciting that Sebastian Zubieta that he believed in this idea. We even had one of your recent guests, Raquel Klein. She helped us bring a choir because his strength was choral music. So we had her conduct.
I didn't know how you all knew each other, because I gathered that during our last SOCI that, everybody, Raquel knows everyone, and everyone knows Raquel, right? But I didn't know how that was exactly. That's really cool. But when you were saying that Adam was hard to pin down, I'm remembering now that you have played duo. There's a replacement Adam. You've played duo a lot with David Degg in addition.
Well, I was gonna say, I think, I told Adam last night, I think I'm cheating on my duo partner,
Yeah. Well, But one of the coolest things that you and David do together is his hammer dulcimer. You guys have started to put some pieces together with piano and hammer dulcimer, which is not an instrument that I play. So there is something cool and unique about what's going on there.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we gave a concert in Gibraltar that just
You and David.
so yeah, me and David, and actually because Adam couldn't do the concert and he recommended David, and I was so excited. I was like disappointed, but also like really excited to play with this other instrument. And I thought, I don't know, it all worked out. It all worked out. The audience was excited about it, and
no, I remember. I mean, you played some of that music at Soci, and you played some of it at the piano recital in town.
Recently wrote a piece for us, and
a hard one.
But then COVID hit. We were about to like start performing a lot together, and then COVID happened, and so we had to cancel those. Or they canceled on us.
Post COVID, we'll think about that. That would be a great Brooklyn bound set. That would be really fun. Well, I do very much want to talk about what you're doing with my piece on Brooklyn Bound. So much want to talk about it, but I also just briefly, since you're here, Cristina, I want to make sure I ask you all the questions that we skipped over something, because you do play, duo with Adam, and but you do a lot of things besides just play duo music with percussionists. You're like, over the last in your career, you've played in front of orchestras, you've played solo, you have an amazing teaching presence, and what I can speak firsthand to that, and well, secondhand to that, I guess. You don't teach me, but through just seeing both my daughters flourish and just love being around you. Like, I feel like your practice is very you do many things. Can you share some of that, what you're doing when you're not getting together a duo version of Go Placidly with Haste?
I was very fortunate in the early 2000s, late 90s. I was introduced to a conductor through Vanessa Perez, another mutual friend of ours. And through that connection, I was able to give my orchestral solo debut in Bucharest with the Bucharest Philharmonic. Cool. And this conductor whose name, he's also conducting at the Met a lot now. So it was a really fortuitous thing, because out of that experience, I was invited to be the principal soloist with an orchestra in Romania. It's called the Mihail Jorac State Philharmonic Bacău. It's a long name, but there are wonderful orchestras in every city in Romania, right? And so it was an unusual position. I don't think that they have that kind of thing in this country, in the US. But I jumped on it. Instead of going for my master's, I decided to study in Italy, and then once that was done, I jumped into this position, which allowed me to play a different concerto with them every year. So I really built up my repertoire, and I knew that would be helpful for me in teaching. It's always great to teach something you've performed, right? And not that you can't, but teach something that you haven't performed, but you always bring some more insights that you've had along the way. So I did that. And then more recently, I would say that I was inspired to start a nonprofit, take over a nonprofit from my mother, but start a program within that. She had started a nonprofit for the arts, and its biggest, I guess its most important program was the Enrico Caruso International Voice Competition. But I decided that with what I was interested in was preserving legacies of master teachers, like my teacher at the Imola Academy, and presenting the music of Guido Lopez Gavilan. So I'm really fascinated with that generation that is kind of going to leave us soon, and I think that it's important to preserve some of the things they want to leave to us. So that is why my projects, I needed an umbrella for them, and so Legacy Arts International was born. And so that's another thing I do. But I
Yeah.
love teaching, and I love teaching your children, and I love the community. I love, for me, it's like I do these international projects, but I really love being part of my local community.
Yeah, absolutely. I a little bit later, we'll talk a little bit just about this pandemic moment, but I feel like I've thought more about the importance of teaching and mentoring in this moment than I have in a long time, for many reasons. But just like I think that that work is so meaningful, and I think in our spheres sometimes we can have the tendency to, like, want to hear more about the which concerto you played in front of the orchestra than what the teaching practice is. But it feels more and more that they should be talked about equally. If not, like, what's the teaching practice? Like those things become so important.
Well,
Yeah.
Christina, I mean, one of the things that your teacher talks about is how important it is not to see teaching as a sort of second tier fallback kind of position, that it's an enormous responsibility.
Mhm.
And the number of people who've been harmed by teachers who were just like watching the clock and being like, oh, I'd rather be doing something else, versus and the number of people who've been helped by teachers who dove in with a real sense of the weight of that responsibility. And so this is somebody who has trained actually some of the biggest competition winners in the world. There are all of these very like these very cool Zen master kind of paradoxes about this teacher, but one of them is that he kind of like he refuses to like directly train people for competitions. He has this whole approach that's about the whole musician and whatever, and part of that is the responsibility of teaching and how important that is. So we all went to conservatories, right? And there's this weird hierarchy of like, oh, somebody who makes it as it's even worse than performer or teacher. It's like somebody who can make it as a soloist, somebody else
Right.
who can make it in a chamber music group, somebody else who can make it in an orchestra, somebody else who manages to teach college, somebody else who manages to teach grade school or high school. And it's like, that's all nonsense.
Yeah.
Because this is a whole world of community. But Christina, your teacher, who has trained some of the greatest soloists in the world, is the one who is saying teaching is this enormous responsibility, right?
Yeah, he wrote this letter, this public letter saying how it's a great social responsibility. And, we want to train people to be great musicians who are also well adapted to society, and able to engage and not just haven't developed all parts of their humanity and their personality. And so, I sometimes that's neglected in when you're we think of solo pianists as being in a practice room for 7 hours a day, but he recently was like, you'll impoverish your music if you do that. So he's always encouraged me to do a lot of other things. And to what Adam had mentioned about, he doesn't train people directly for piano competitions. On the other side of the spectrum, there are people who are ready for it and who, don't think about doing it. And then he's like, now you're ready, you should do this and I will help you. And it's like everyone has different needs, right? And different. So it talks about, the personality of students who have this latent talent, a little shyer, and so you build them up. It's like you sculpt, you add clay to help build their confidence. And then there are those who are overly confident. So it's like more like you're a sculptor and you're chipping
Yeah.
away and you're chipping, like you're at the marble so that you can find that refined that form that's inside. And so it's very interesting that you have to be a kind of psychologist as a teacher to be able to recognize the kind of person that is before you, so you know whether they need you to help build them or help them prepare to be knocked down. I mean,
Yeah,
with a
strip
little bit
away.
of
Yeah. Yeah. And I was figuring, like, cut them off at the knees. But like, strip away makes a lot of sense, right? Like, strip away some of that citrusy
well,
affect maybe that can get in the way of, you know.
we should always have a little humility, right?
Yeah.
Before what we're doing.
That's so cool. Wow. Well, I want to hear, I don't know if you've been tracking, we've gotten through 2 questions. We have 3 more to go. So many of the questions are multi-part questions. But I want to hear a little bit about what your process has been for the music you're going to play on Brooklyn Bound. So I love the idea that you guys have taken on this piece, this set of music, Go Placidly. It's been so nice for me this year to put it together on Brooklyn Bound, and almost all the pieces have made it on there. And when I wrote it, there were 4 solos. They were called solos at first. And then slowly all of them have managed to be played as non-solos, which is really exciting. And this was a solo that originally I played on vibraphone and toy piano or something. The idea was that it was a keyboard piece that could be played on other kinds of keyboards. So the idea that I could send it to Adam and it could make its way onto your piano, Cristina, is just so exciting for me. So thank you, I guess, is the first thing I have to say. And what's it been like? I've heard like a little bit. You sent me, Adam, a really awesome little excerpt last night that got me really excited about how the piece is coming together. What's the process been like for you all?
Well, I don't know, Adam, do you want to start or?
Adam, how's it been playing with Cristina?
I'm always ready to talk.
Has it been interesting?
Well, yeah, it's been, well, I have much more clearly complimentary things to say up front.
Good.
I'm not quite as ambivalent about the experience.
No, I wasn't ambivalent.
I'm just teasing.
I was talking about wanting to play with you more.
I know. Well, so, I mean, as part of all of the complex dynamics of 2 musicians being in a relationship and all the wonderful parts about that, you know, Cristina is my piano teacher as well. And I've actually tackled a lot of piano and keyboard projects over the last 9 years, in large part because of the confidence I have that she is able to help guide me when I reach technical problems, because it wasn't my instrument in conservatory. I don't have the same level of technical command that I do with percussion instruments. And so our relationship with music is always shifting depending on what's happening. If I'm working on a keyboard piece, she might straight up just be my teacher, in which case the chipping away that you were talking about, like,
the ruler comes out.
Yeah, she will. No, I mean, in the nicest way, but she will help me. And she's such a good teacher of piano that I'll play for her for like 2 minutes and she'll be like, okay, you know, she'll know exactly what to do and how to diagnose it. So when we're collaborating like this, I'm playing percussion, she's playing piano, we're each in our kind of comfortable areas. Well, conversely, Cristina, I would say that you have started to tackle more contemporary music and more involved rhythmic music, because I think I do that for you. We sit together and I show you the way that percussion teaches people the way we break rhythms down to make them feel more organic and easier. And I think you, as somebody who spent a lot of time playing 19th century and early 20th century music, have been jumping into more of that stuff.
Yeah. And when we were I was preparing music to play with David Degg, I would always be consulting Adam, you know, what is the best way to rehearse this and how should I prepare myself? And this is like a whole new world for me. But actually, you know, going back to Jason's piece, I've been thinking a lot about Bach and how a lot of his music, his keyboard music, is kind of flexible instrumentation pieces, because you know, they're written.
It's totally true.
It's just pure music, and you can play it on any instrument you want. And I've been
as usual, whatever cool idea you think you have, Bach out there first.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I love how Jason. This is the second time I think I'm playing a piece by Jason, and I was in the Amid the Noise project, right? And I love that it's like there's a clear structure, but there's so much space. It's very similar to when I play Bach. I can make a lot of decisions. There's so much freedom he gives you, and yet you have the structure. It's clearly the composer. I know I'm playing Jason Truding. I know there's the quality about it, but I feel so lucky to be able to. You can't do this with Beethoven, or there's more control over what you're doing. And I just feel like with Bach and with this music, you have this thing in common, that this flexible instrumentation, and it's a lovely inviting feeling, you know, to feel like I I can say something within this. And but when I started practicing my solo in it, and I immediately thought about you know, a few years ago, I organized a full well-tempered clavier concert in Princeton, and Adam Tendler, a pianist that we all know in the new music community, he played in it. He played the last prelude in that book, the B minor, and he said that he was going to try it pianissimo all the way through with pedal. And I just thought to myself, okay, that's nuts. But
but Adam's a nice guy, so
no, but it was,
not.
Yeah.
the thing. Well, I wasn't 100% convinced, but then when I heard him in the concert, it was ravishing. It was like there was this aura. He was able to project this. There was this. You could still hear all the counterpoint, but there was this aura, and there was a lot of pedal. He played, used pedal. You don't use pedal in Bach, but it gave it a whole this angelic, otherworldly thing, and we were transported. And I had not heard. It was so refreshing. It was so refreshing. So when I started practicing this, I was like, oh, I want to finally play a piece where I can put the pedal down for the whole thing. And it doesn't matter if everything's colliding, because there are these notes that shoot out like stars, that whenever you have the tenutos and the accents. And I feel like it's like the same thing that happens in Bach when he has a note, like a longer note where you're holding, but other notes are swimming around. It's been really fun to approach it that way. So I actually credit Adam Tendler for giving me that.
That's amazing.
Into your piece. So you're getting two pianists.
Yes.
Rolled into one.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, so the piece doesn't give you any instrumentation. You get to come up with the instrumentation. You all are playing it on piano, and mostly is it the higher portion of the piano with glockenspiel?
Piano is where it's written.
Okay,
and,
awesome.
And glockenspiel transposes up up an octave. So actually, Jason, in the middle section where you just have G and A flat, I'm going down an octave so that she and I
that it gets that. Yeah, I think that's
but
great.
Then when I'm playing the thing that covers the range of the instrument, I'm just playing it as written, so that's an octave up.
Cool.
So it creates, as like this thing I sent you last night, it creates this little shimmer with the glockenspiel and piano together, and what Cristina said is true about the Adam Tendler thing. It also emerged out of the rehearsals. It's like we got quieter. I'm using red yarn on glockenspiel. This is a stick you would usually use. It's a hard stick for like a vibraphone, but glockenspiel you're using hard plastic. And so it's this very kind of these like quiet bells Cristina, I think that it decorates the piano in a really interesting way.
It's so beautiful. I can't wait for everyone to hear it, because
can't wait for us to finish it.
Yeah.
That angelic thing going.
I'm so excited about it.
We really need. I don't know. It's very healing right now to practice something like this. Like, and I always feel that way, the same way about Bach. Like when I practice Bach, it's like I feel like I'm healing my inner, things.
Well, I've felt that. Mabel's been practicing a lot of Bach over here, and whenever I'm sitting in the room, it's very helpful music right now. It's very grounding and
right?
Yeah.
So
well, that's amazing. I love all this positive energy exuding from this Zoom screen, especially you, Cristina. We haven't. There's more things to be done together, I know, but I'm so grateful that you've taken the time to jump into this with such care and energy and passion.
Thank you for writing something that we can all participate in. I mean, that's the other thing that I love about Amid the Noise, and I love about this music, that it's just it contributes to that feeling of community that we need so badly right now. I think in the next few years, like, we want to hug each other in so many different ways, and this is like a way of hugging and being together, right?
I love that. I've So's been trying to think about that as well. I think what music can we be playing? And maybe that leads to the next question in a nice way. Though, Adam, I do want to say we are contractually obligated to work on each other's projects, but I'm grateful to you as well. Even though there's a professional, no, I'm just joking. I'm very, very grateful to you always, Sly. But so these last two questions kind of, leave the Brooklyn bound space a little bit. And, but I've been asking everybody, and you've just been alluding to it, Christina. I mean, like, I can't think of a more intense time to be living. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know, that sounds so short-sighted. I mean, but there's so many intense things about living right now. I don't know what it's been like for you all as parents. I know for me, like, my kids are looking at me, they always assume I've gone through something before. And then with the pandemic, to be like, no, there's no way to explain this. This is totally new ground. And then to think about ourselves as artists in this time. And then a few months in, you add George Floyd's murder and a bigger conversation about Black Lives Matter and equity. And you add that to the pool, and you think about, what does it mean to be an artist right now? And what is my practice? And then I feel like, I mean, we could just keep adding things on top of the election. You can just keep adding things on top of that, and think about just these responsibilities that all of us have. But specifically thinking about ourselves, I guess, as artists, and I know for me, I would answer this question differently, almost weekly or monthly. How has it changed my practice as an artist? Does it need to change my practice as an artist? Or what practices did I have a year ago that were good for this moment, and what needs to change? Like, so many things to think about. You all, it's so great you live in the same house, so I'm so happy you still get to make music together like that. But how has it for you all? I mean, I know you can't answer that's too broad a question to answer whole cloth, but how have you been thinking about your practice in this time, and how has that changed, if it has?
I see Adam's gonna let me speak. So I
Adam's getting much better at that in general.
I wanted to say that I honestly didn't touch the piano for many months. I think it was really hard for me to go back to the instruments last March. Um, there was a kind of mourning happening, and the only thing that kept me going, and I felt such a responsibility to them, was my students. They were so grateful. They were expressing such gratitude in a different way than they had in the past, right? And I felt like I had to come through for them, even though I did not want to be sitting at the instrument. Like, I was sore, getting used to looking at a camera and teaching them in that way, and learning a whole new level of patience, and learning a whole new level of breaking things down, that before I could just touch their hands and help them get a nice position, and now I had to be like explaining things with words. And then on top of it, during COVID, I've been forgetting a lot of words. I mean, Adam can attest to this, but that fuzzy feeling, like, what's the word for that again? Because we're not really engaging all the parts of our brain the way we did before, because we're so focused on not getting sick, right?
Wow.
So it's just challenging in many ways, and just feeling great heavy-heartedness for everything going on around us. So I don't think, as an artist, I don't know how. I know that for me, I mean, I feel everything around me, absorb it. And Adam has started doing much deeper. He went deeper into meditation. He had already started doing meditation, but he went deeper. And actually, I think that's been good for the whole family, because we're all being more mindful about our just the energy we're setting in the house, right? And helping each other. We can help each other better through it. And that helps me to be a better teacher too for my students. So I feel the responsibility to take care of myself, so that I can help them feel supported and hold space for them.
Yeah, that resonates with me a lot, just in terms of the energy, transferring that energy into teaching, whatever that for me, that means a lot of different things, but that makes a lot of sense. It took a while. It's hard to remember back that far, but it took us a while to figure out what we could do creatively in this time, you know. Yeah, I was talking to Dan Truman yesterday,
Yeah.
mutual friend and colleague, and you know, just talking about writing music, and I felt like actually so much of my music has been played through things like this, but like I haven't written a note of music really in like a year. Like there's nothing about it that, like, I think this is maybe what you're feeling like, Christina, when you're saying sitting down at the instrument. I mean, for me, sitting down and making something new, I wouldn't even know where to start right now, you know. So
Yeah.
I totally have this grateful feeling for these kind of processes like here, you know.
Yeah, I was going to actually just mention Dan Truman because we're going to be premiering some preludes,
Yeah.
a set of preludes that Adam and I are working on. And, you know, it was just so hard for me to get back to sitting down. And I'm excited to learn them, but it's been slow to make myself start learning notes again, right?
Yeah.
But I think I'm there now.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
I
so
think
cool.
I'm there, yeah.
Well, I gave you 9. You only had to learn 9 of them for this Go Placid, right? Only 9 notes, I think. It's fine. Adam, what about you? I'm not sure that we talked about this in this way. I mean, we talk all the time about this stuff, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, I really identify with something you've said a few times, Jason, which is this energy when the lockdown first happened, where everybody was like, artists, we need you now more than ever. And I think all of us reacted like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
What do you want from me right now?
Yeah.
Like, this is a mess and I'm freaking out just like you're freaking out.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, we are so psychologically adaptable that we figured out how to normalize a lot of things over the last year just to get through it. But if you can just try to imagine going back in time 2 years to yourself and saying the entire world is going to shut down for 1 year.
Yeah.
You would not even be able to wrap your head around it. It would, and when you were saying it's hard to explain to an 8 or 10-year-old, no, I've never been through this before. It's also been hard to explain it to 22-year-olds, students, college students, being like, what do we do? And we're all like, I don't know. And we're talking to the head of our music department, and she's like, I don't know. You know, that was how everything felt at that time, and we've all been clawing our way through it. I think that though I think that stopping for a year has had some interesting benefits. Of all of us have been like, well, what should this look like? What should this be? We don't have any concerts. Like, thinking of So Percussion, it's like we were on this thing of, for the past 20 years, building and building and building. We always have concerts every year. You commit your concerts 1 or 2 years out, so the programming becomes part of the cycle or whatever. Everything stopped for 1 year, and we all kind of sat there and stared at each other, and we're like, well, what should this look like? Not just what it has looked like. Like, obviously we'll keep a lot of it, but maybe we'll change some things. And we've been having those conversations over the last year, and it's been great. And I will say, for me, it's true. I've been doing much more into mindfulness and Buddhism and stuff like that. And it's been a very private thing that I've talked about with a few people. I am wary of that. I have this tendency, whenever I get excited about something, like, that's my thing for a while. And I'm like that guy for a while. I'm into this now, and I'm into that now. And there's something very a little strange and awkward to me about, like, starting to adopt like a spiritual practice and then sort of making it part of your, like, your brand or something. That's my thing right now. And so I'm finding a way through that feels like it's mostly about the work I'm doing on myself and not so much about something I'm trying to project for other people. But like, at our festivals, I've done a couple of mindfulness sessions, and the students were like, that was cool. That was cool.
It was so great.
And it was like, okay, that's cool. So
I'm not sure how explicitly I've told you this, though. I feel like, you know, back in my college moments, I had my meditation moments that I would always draw on a little bit, but I wouldn't consider myself having a practice. And like, hearing you speak about these things has led me back to some form of a start of a practice.
Great.
Which is really,
well, it's neat, because the concept of a practice as a musician, you're like, I know what that is. I know how to practice. And something, you know. And that's a lot of what appeals to me about it, is like, there's a path, actually.
The dailiness of it. The idea of it. Well, so thank you, Adam. It's hard. It's hard not to be sarcastic in these moments together.
But that's why these kinds of conversations are great.
Well, the last question, and I could talk to you all forever, especially Cristina, but and we have, I feel like there's so many other things we could have talked about, but the last question that I always ask is that it's a little bit about thinking to the before times and thinking to the idea that it used to be so amazing to get people in a room together and share music. And Adam, I'll say often to the folks that I'm interviewing that, you know, when So drives around in a van, you know, it's like we have these little, you know, moments that we think about, you know, the time that, you know, Eric lost the flower pot, or the time that, you know, Adam's iPad got too hot on stage at that festival, or the time that we forgot this instrument, or the time, you know, all the kind of funny stories that kind of make up the bonds that we have as we travel. And we definitely have the stories that are also positive. You know, a lot of our stories are the like the things that go wrong, you know, but we have the positive, you know, like you know, the kind of transcendental experiences that were so wonderful. So I would love it if you all would share an experience that a kind of concert experience, either that's fun or meaningful or life-changing or just super sad. And you know, and if you need to share more than one, you know, I'm down for that too. Adam, we can go to you first. Give Cristina a moment to think of one, and because I know that you have some at the tip of your tongue.
I mean, are you thinking ones that where we were playing, that we participated in?
Yeah, I think so. And it doesn't have to be So if there's a, you know, another one.
There haven't been a lot. I mean, it's been a lot of So for the last 20 years. You know, the funny thing is, I do always think about those in relation to people. So it may be the other three of you, or it may have been like an Amid the Noise experience, and I think about the people that were there. You know, the NC at Carnegie Hall in 2009, where like Philip Glass was playing and Terry Riley was playing, and the Chrono String Quartet and all these people, and like we dug up the photo of that the other day, and I actually have the like poster
Signed
for it.
yeah,
the signed poster hanging on my wall. That was like a coming together of a community that I looked up to so many of the people that were part of that. We did an hour and 45-minute long version of the piece. And that you just knew that was, you're like, this is never going to happen again. This moment can never be repeated. And the truth is that the beauty of playing music is that that's always true. But it was pretty heightened in that moment and at that time. Yeah. I think I could definitely pick out that one. There's so many things I remember about that concert, and you and I've played like 600 concerts together, and I remember a lot about that specific concert that I'm sure I don't remember about a lot of other concerts.
Yeah, that's true. That resonate. One thing, just that it was celebrating the 50th anniversary, probably.
I think it was actually 45 at that point, because it was 1964.
Oh yeah, right. Sure. So the idea that he came in, this piece that was super old, he came in and had all these new ideas with it, which was just super, I love that. I
carved out little solo sections for, like, we had our own little percussion jam that he said it's going to happen during this part. And the original score doesn't have any of that kind of stuff.
Well, and then I think realizing that, you know, that big Stern Auditorium at Carnegie is just really, you know, special space acoustically. And there was some moment where it's like, wow, we are the only 4 people playing right now. Like, I remember that too. That's a really, really special.
That particular room and that stage, there is nothing like it. And Cristina, you've played on that stage too. I mean, it's like, there is nothing like it.
It's special. Yeah.
Do
you have a fun one to share, Cristina?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many like landmark moments in my mind, right? Well, when I played at Carnegie Hall, I have to say it was in Stern. I played Rhapsody in Blue with an orchestra, and it was my first time playing with orchestra. It was my first time on that big of a stage, and there was a woman conductor that was so new at that time. Like, it was like 1991. It was they were celebrating Carnegie Hall's, I don't know, 100th or 200th.
Oh, it would have been 100th.
Like some kind of anniversary. Anyway, and I remember leaving the stage. I mean, I felt very supported by the orchestra, and I remember when I walked off stage, I just went to the bathroom, and I realized that I had just played for 3,000 people. It was my first, you know, I was 18, I think, or 19, and I was like, oh my God. So you know how people have like a freak out before they walk on stage? Mine was after. I was like, I just did that. I thought I was gonna vomit. And then I ran up to the top to hear, because then the concert was continuing. I ran all the way to the very top at Carnegie, like, you know, in the highest part of the balconies. And uh looking down, because when you're on that stage, it doesn't feel that big. You feel like there's a cocoon. It feels warm. I love the feeling on that stage. But then when you go all the way to the top, you're like, oh my God.
It feels steep, right? I remember.
Yes, steep.
Yeah.
It's like there are a lot of people here. So
but the
that
sound,
was
when you're playing
exciting.
on stage, the sound is so intimate, right?
So intimate, it's warm. Like I said, you feel protected. You don't feel that there's that many people watching. I don't know, it's something about the architecture in there.
That's cool.
Yeah, but you know, and of course I love playing with Adam. Like every time I get to perform with him is something really special for me. So I'm, you know, getting back to Brooklyn Bound. I just can't wait to record this piece with him.
Yay. Well,
thank you so much for that, you know.
Yeah, yes, if you're thanking me, I'm not sure why. If you're thanking Adam, thank you, I'm thanking you.
Wrote the music.
Yeah. But the show is April 15th. It's a Thursday. We do these at 7 p.m. And Adam, I'm not sure why we do them at 7 p.m. I think it's because we used to like 7 p.m. shows so we could get to the food and drinks earlier, but you know,
our
it doesn't
first
matter.
couple years, Brooklyn Bounds were programmed with a lot of leeway, and sometimes they were like 3 hours long. So we thought that 8 was maybe pushing it a little bit, so we went back to 7.
It's good. You can, but we'll be on the YouTube. Adam will be on the YouTube chat. Christina, you're gonna be there. It's really nice. I didn't think I would be this person, but I find it to be so nice when people gather on that chat and you just know that people are experiencing something at the same time. Totally. It's really, really nice. So you all should come out, check out Adam and Christina. They don't have a duo name yet, but it's coming. By Thursday, they'll announce what their duo name is.
The Altamura duo.
There we go. Perfect. I think that's perfect. All right, you all. Thanks for taking the time to chat.
Thanks,
Thank you.
I always appreciate it. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.